Hey guys, me again Aswat, and this time I'm going to do a movie review. The first movie that I seen after post lockdown. So they just opened the cinema here, and I managed to see Train to Busan to Peninsula. Okay, so I think I'm gonna make a review in Malay, but there's gonna be another review also. So this one is in English. So everybody love, I think a lot of people love the Train to Busan part 1. So they try to capitalize on that. So they make a sequel, Train to Busan 2 Peninsula. That's a full title. But actually, the original title was just Peninsula, but takes place in that world, in the Train to Busan world. Because there's no train in this movie. There's no Busan. It doesn't take in Busan. It doesn't take place in Busan. Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna give you the good and the bad. The first movie, The Train to Busan, I give it 9.5 out of 10. Very, very, very high score, because it's a different zombie movie. Very fun, very interesting, very emotional. So that gets a very, very high score. Now, so of course you are built up when you hear, oh, they're gonna make a Train to Busan sequel, and I don't know what to expect, but it's called Train to Busan 2 Peninsula, right? So I really don't know what to expect, but there's no train and doesn't take place in Busan. It takes place in Korea. So the synopsis of the movie is, this group of Korean refugee living in Hong Kong are given the challenge to go back to the zombie infested Korea to steal a truck of money that have like about $500 million or something. There's a lot of money inside this small truck. There's one truck have a lot of cash, USD. And to me, that's not really a big goal. You know what I mean? It's just to go there and get this money and then get it back to the gangsters. The gangsters hired this Korean group of people to go and get this money. And I really don't understand that, because there's a lot of plot holes in this movie. Yeah. But really I don't get that, unless it would be more interesting if they stole like a train load of money, to risk their life for that. But no, they just want to go there and get this small truck of money, and then get back to the gangsters. And then it's just a low kind of goal, So by the way, there are gonna be spoilers in this movie, in this review, because I know a lot of people will not be watching this movie. Yeah lah, because it's still dangerous, right? I was taking a risk when I went to the cinema. I was thinking like, but there's not a lot of people, man. I went during the day. They spread out. They spread out the seating. So I try to sit furthest away from anybody else. So there's only like less than 7 in the cinema, but I know they're losing money, so I think, but it's still a risk, right? So anyway, that's another topic. Okay, so they went there. This group went there, and then suddenly things doesn't goes well for them, and they get captured by some sort. You can see the trailer. There's some sort of group that's living there, which is also plot holes aplenty. There's a lot of plot holes in this movie, and it doesn't explain why. It doesn't explain well, and then it doesn't turn out well. And then they were captured. One guy was captured. One guy was saved by this group of family. Now my question is, first off, I have to tell you, the zombie is really not a big feature here, and Unlike part 1 is a big thing that they have to overcome. Here is not the zombie. And if you see the trailer, there's a really like Mad Max kind of world. Everything has been seen. You can see a lot of the movie in the trailer. Like this is a game where they have to survive a game of sort against zombie. And really it doesn't make any logical sense. I think the quality of the story is really went down here because of that. There's a one faction, and then you get to see this faction, but you don't understand why they are there, why they are doing these games, how. And then there's a family that saved them. You don't get, if this faction, the military faction, is so strong, they have weapons and everything, and then they are smart too, how come they never captured the family in the first place? Because the family is going everywhere inside this small city. This is not Busan, it's a small city, Incheon I think, which is a port city in Korea. So you get to wonder, hey, why haven't them captured this small group of family? Because they are not that good at all. And how did, another question just brought up, how did this family survive in the zombie apocalypse? And then are there other families that survive also? So you are never given their background. The military group, you given some background, but it doesn't make any sense to me. And I was watching it, I was thinking, what? Okay, this group of military, they have a hierarchy, they have a captain, but the captain character wasn't really gone deep into it, because you don't really believe he's the captain. It's really wacko, but I don't believe he's the captain, and it's a very weird group of people. And then, like I said, the zombies is taking a back seat, you know. I mean, but that's not even the worst part yet. I'm gonna blow the worst part of this movie, and here it is. I mean, first of all, I just want to say that I enjoyed this movie, all right. But there's a lot of points being taken out, because one, there's a lot of plot holes. Two, it's not a believable thing. You want to go there to get some money. It doesn't make any big thing to me. It doesn't make any sense. And then the biggest flaw for me in this movie, because the first one was so amazing, and the biggest flaw in this movie, there's a lot of CGI, there's a lot of visual effects that it spoiled the movie for me. Because the first movie, I mean, CGI zombie effect is fine, but most of the effects, the scenes in part 1 is mostly, you know, normal shots. There's not a lot, but in this movie there's a lot of visual effects, a lot of CGI. You are really taken out of it, because it's just like a video game. I'm being serious. I mean, some video games are better looking than the graphics here, because the last part, I mean, the near the third act, first act and third act, CGI. They'll do a lot of car CGI, car special effect on VFX on cars. It reminds me of Fast and Furious 4, I think. Is it Fast and Furious 4 or 3? It reminds me of that, because you are taken out of the movie, because you're using CGI to design the cars and to animate. It's mostly bad animation. To me, it's a bad animation, because oh man, I don't want to see that. But because they focus too much on the cars, trying to create this Mad Max, they really try to create this Mad Max vibe, which doesn't make any sense when they overuse of CGI. That's a thing that you will take out of this. Even though you enjoy the movie, it's a CGI fest. It's a lot of CGI, huge amount of CGI. But I also learned things. Okay, that's the worst part of the movie. The good thing is, when I say a bad movie, you can always learn something. So they infuse the emotional bit. Korean movie can become very, very emotional. They did it in part 1, so they try to replicate. They try to make the second one also emotional, have an emotional impact like the first movie. So the emotional impact for me, sappy guy, it works. I feel something. I feel something. And there's a message there, but not as strong as in part 1. But I love the emotional part in the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I love that. But the rest of the movie are disposable. To me, the middle part when they are captured, when they are locked, you go into this camp. Oh, this military camp, and they have this game. You can see in the trailer. It just doesn't make any sense. It was badly shot. It was just bad. The middle part with this military group is just bad, and the lack of zombies and whatnot. So the score for this movie for me is 7 out of 10. I wanted to give it lower. Seriously, I wanted to give it a 6, but the 7 because of the emotional part, they did it right. But there's too much CGI in this movie. There is too much CGI, less zombie. Oh, I cannot forgive that. So it's less zombie, a lot of CGI that doesn't have to do. Or I would say to you that do not spend money on this movie. Don't buy the tickets. Wait for this to be on TV or Netflix and whatnot. Avoid the movie in the cinema. It's not worth it. I was thinking like, oh man, I watched it during the post-COVID. I know COVID is still around. I was being very careful, but I was thinking like, oh, this is. After I left the cinema, I went straight back home. I did not hang around the mall or whatnot because I'm very paranoid about large group. But thankfully, there's not a lot of people in the cinema. Still, it wasn't a bad movie, but it's just a 7. Compared to the first, it's 9.5. 7 for me, it just went downhill because of the sound of that. Too much CGI and less focus on the zombies. So that's my review for Train to Busan 2 Peninsula. They should have stick to the Peninsula because there's no train. Train to Busan, there's no train, and this doesn't take place in Busan. They should have just maintain Peninsula, but people should watch it. Oh, it's taking place in the universe, the Train to Busan universe. Because they have some clips from the first movie put here, so I could accept it. But I enjoy it because of the emotional stuff at the end. But the rest of the movie is just forgettable. Really, really, really forgettable. Bad CGI. Too much CGI. That's a thing that you will also feel when you watch this movie. Alright? Thank you guys for watching. Peace.